All right, all right, all right. Welcome back to the HHC podcast. This is episode number 5. I'm your host for today. My name is Jake. I'm here with my brothers Josh and Chris. How y'all doing today?
It's good. It's good.
That's good. That's good. All right, we've had a pretty interesting week. Last week was pretty fun. We had two good nights against the LA teams. A solid little game against Minnesota and a not so solid game against
Yeah,
Utah.
super rough.
So we can go ahead and get right into it. Honestly, let's just see what the games are looking like. So the first game of the week was against Utah. We lost 130 to 109. Their leading scorer was Bojan Bogdanovic, who scored 27 points and shot 6 for 7 from 3. Obviously, their superstar Donovan Mitchell still going to get his due. He got 22 points and had 5 for 9 shooting, as well as a backup scoring from Jordan Clarkson, who scored 18 points. One thing to super note was that they shot 51% from 3, which is incredible for them. So it's like it was just a very nice night overall for them. While on the Spurs side, we had a leading scorer in KJ who scored 22 on 10 for 16 shooting, and other than that, like DeMar 19 on 9 for 17 shooting, but for the most part, just very inconsistent shooting from us overall. So how did y'all feel about the games? We'll start with Josh.
I mean, yeah, like you said, we just could not get a bucket to drop like at all. DJ was missing layups. Everybody was missing everything. It was just one of those nights where, unfortunately, those are going to happen throughout the year. We could not hit a 3-pointer. We couldn't get to the line. We couldn't do anything. And then on the other end, those guys were on fire. Especially. Who did you say was our leading? I can't even think of his name right now. I'm
Bojan
sorry.
Bogdanovic.
Yeah, Bogdanovich. That guy was going off on us. We did a horrible job guarding that 3-point line, and they took advantage of it, and they killed us all night. So it was just one of those games where moving forward, we did just put it right behind us. We got a nice dub after, but yeah, this game was killer.
For sure, for sure. What about you, Chris?
Yeah, I mean, I would agree. First of all, I'm glad that we can kind of talk about this in the context of like, well, it's a one night that we've already shown that we can rebound from. But yeah, in the scale of like the nights that we're going to have over the course of the season, we're gonna have some that are like right in the middle, that are like winnable games that maybe we fall short, and those are gonna be frustrating. They're gonna be those real close nail biters that we actually do pull it out, and you feel good about like us progressing and like winning those like the games where you have to learn some lessons along the way. And then there's gonna be games like this, like where it's the worst possible scenario, right? Like kind of like Josh said, where they're hitting and we're not, you know what I mean? So it was one of those ones where it's like, all right, we're kind of frustrated. It's a frustrating game to watch from front to bottom.
For sure, for sure. Just kind of going back to what Josh said, this was honestly like the first night that DJ has had a not good game at all this season. He's been playing great all year. He's stepped up his game, and he's showed that he's progressed a lot. But this was that first game of the season that we see a 1 for 13 shooting night for him. And can't expect somebody to play great all season. Everybody's gonna have their down nights, but that for sure hurt us. For sure hurt us this last night, or this last game. Sorry. But overall, like this was just a game that we definitely saw. We took a bad loss, but we wanted to improve on it. So obviously, we'll go ahead and go right into the next game, because I'm sure we'll have a good amount of time to talk about this next game with the Clippers.
Yeah.
So this game against the Clippers, we won 116 to 113. It was a pretty solid game until the very end. But we can talk about that a little bit more in just a second. Our leading scorer was DeJounte Murray, who scored 20. Or no, sorry, pardon me. It was Patty Mills off the bench,
Yeah, off the
27
bench.
points on a great 8 for 12 shooting. DeJounte was second there and shot a nice 21, 5-5 type of night. So he definitely picked it up from that Utah game, and scored 21 on 9 for 18 shooting. Obviously, when it happens, I have to give him my applause because he's my rook. But Devin Vassell on some solid shooting too. He had 12 points on 4 for 5 shooting. Can't ask much more from that for him. So love to see it.
Mm-hmm.
And then going to the Clippers, Kawhi is obviously Kawhi. He's a superstar, right? So he got them his 30 points and he did his thing, right? They didn't have Paul George to help them out this game. So you could tell that a couple other guys had to take a step up, at like Pat Bev, who scored 20 for them, and Nicholas Batum, who scored 20 for them.
Yeah, on 6 3-pointers. When is he ever going to do that again? Good Lord.
Exactly. So it was just one of those nights where he was just hitting his shots. He even had 28 and 8, as you can see. So it was a pretty solid night for Pat Bev.
Mm-hmm.
But one of the things to note is that they really didn't have any scoring off the bench. Lou Will gave them 15, but it was 15 on 5 for 13 shooting. So it's not like they had anybody to come off their bench and help them out,
Mm-hmm.
So, but how'd you feel about this game, Josh?
Yeah, I mean, we played great. Like we got off to that early lead, and unfortunately, we couldn't keep it as big as it was. Kawhi was just in the fourth quarter. He killed us. He was getting anywhere he wanted. He was making and taking tough shots. It's just that the only thing that kind of, I guess, gets under my skin is it seems like it always happens. And we talked about this before. Like somebody always shows out against us, and this time Pat Beverly. If any other night they said, "Oh, Pat took 9 3-pointers," that's a win. That's a dub. But 6 for 9. Good Lord, he was on fire, and nothing you do about that. He's in the NBA for a reason. He's not known as a shooter, but obviously he's going to knock him down every now and then, I guess, because he killed us. And they were timely threes too. Like we're on a little run and Pat Bev 3, bam, killer. Mm-hmm. But other than that, man, we played good. I'm happy that we beat, even though they were down Paul George, it's still a tough Clippers team. So to be in that close game like that and to close it out like we did, it was pretty good. It was pretty good to watch,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and Beverly, he did a good job of matching because like Patty came out for us and like kind of set a tone early of like we're gonna get he's gonna be somebody that we can rely on, and so kudos to Beverly for kind of showing that like that he was willing to kind of stick with stay right with him toe to toe, because they needed it, like you said, without Paul George. I mean, he's the one that kept it close for them. And gave Kawhi the opportunity to kind of take over a little bit in that last push that they had. I'm not as hard, and probably because we ended up winning the game. Like I don't feel as strongly about like, man, I wish that it would have stayed bigger, because I do feel like this was our first opportunity, at least from what I can remember, of like, okay, we have the lead, and now it's our job to maintain that lead, or nurse that lead all the way across the finish line. And sometimes you are able to keep it, sometimes you're able to expand on it, but sometimes you just have to hang on to it. You know what I mean? And so I think that we did a good job of hanging on to that lead during this game.
Well, I'm kind of on a bit of the opposite end for Chris. Like as much as I am happy that we were able to get a win against the Clippers, I was not happy with that fourth quarter. Like I felt like there were a lot of decisions that could have been made that would have been a whole lot better had we, like there was just a couple things that happened throughout that fourth quarter that puzzled me, and even though like Josh was saying that like in that fourth quarter Kawhi was going out there doing crazy things, like it shouldn't matter if only one man is out there scoring the ball like that, because we should have our own guys going out there to be able to at least hold their own, keep it to a sizable lead,
Yeah, but when you are a younger team, and when you're a younger team and you got a guy like an alpha, like an alpha player like Kawhi, who's like anything that you're doing, you can try multiple different ways to try to stop them, but none of them are working. Like that's something that you're going to have to deal with in the NBA. You know what I mean? Like that. Yeah. So I know we talked a lot, the three of us, like around the bubble time and a little bit before the bubble time, even after the Spurs were out of it and everything like that, about just like the importance of having like an S level player is what Jake would say.
Yeah.
Right. So, Kawhi is an S level player coming at you with the determination of like, no, I'm going to try to take over this game. So, I mean, we'll hopefully be more equipped for something like that, as we move forward.
For sure. And I mean, like, the only reason I say that is because of what we had and what they didn't have. Like, they didn't have Paul George, and if they did have Paul George, what's this game looking like now?
Yeah.
And even then, like look at DeMar. Like
that's what I was gonna say.
Like I said before,
what DeMar did, or lack of.
Like I've said before, everybody has their off night and stuff like that, right? And this was just DeMar's off night. 3 for 9 shooting, only got 6 points, but like, that hurt. It hurts us. It hurts whenever our star player is not getting those points in, and
it's not even an off night. I mean, he only took 9 shots. So it's not like he had a bad shooting night or anything like that. Who knows if he would have taken 3 more shots, he could have knocked down 3 more and went 6 for 12 easy. He just needs to put him up, and that's what I wanted from him. You saw, I know I'm kind of jumping ahead, but you see closing out the game yesterday. I mean, I wish he would have did that in this game. When Kawhi is going off, okay, put that ball in DeMar's hands and let him do what he does. And he's been closing games up for us since he got sent. And I wish he would have maybe did that just to keep the lead, not closing the game out to win it for us to catch up, but just to keep putting pressure on them. All right, well, we're going to score 2. And we were just like at the end of the game, we had we're taking bad shots, that let them get back into it. And I wish DeMar would have did that.
And I do think that is something that it feels to me, I'd have to go back and really look, but it feels to me like in the 8 games or 9 games we've had so far, that we've had like many iterations of like what is going to be our fourth quarter closing crunch time lineup. So, I think they're still trying to figure out what are going to be some of the plays we try to execute in crunch time. What are going to be some of those situational things? When are we going to just kind of let how sometimes they'll be like, oh yeah, we didn't really have a play called. It's just like run move the ball and all that kind of stuff. So I don't know. It feels like we're still trying to figure that stuff out. And sometimes you got to figure that out with the lead. Sometimes you got to figure that out while it's a real tight game or vice versa when you're losing. So, I mean, I think like when I see a game like this, like, or in most of the close games or the games that we've lost, it's been like the shot charts, right? It's like, okay, like, are we not finding the players we want to, or are those players not taking those shots? Because there's just been like a lot of times, like on this night when I see Lonnie Walker 3 for 9, like Josh was saying, well, what if DeMar just took a couple more shots? Like Lonnie, I felt like passed up so many shots. For like two or 3 games, he was kind of just like real timid in terms of his shot selection. And me, man, I would rather see him go on a 6 for 16 night and just say, okay, Lonnie, like we need you to start making them versus like, we need you to take them. That's like step 1.
For sure. Which, I mean, I feel like he could do that off the bench, take some shots away from Rudy.
Well, okay. So, and let me real quick defend Rudy Gay. Cause I mean, he was getting some heat, man, for like a good 3 to 4 game stretch, mainly when LA was out. Right. And it's safe to say that we're a better team with LaMarcus Aldridge playing. Right. And it's because of little things like that. It's because with LA out there, Rudy's role now changes. And so maybe he doesn't have to take 16 shots. Maybe now he only gets his like 9 to 13 shots, 9 to 12 shots. And he can be more efficient if he's not having to do so much. Cause man, he was doing a lot. He took up so much of our defensive responsibilities with Aldridge being gone.
It's just the contested shots for me. That's all. Like, I mean,
I
don't like to see Rudy Gay out of all of our players be the guy that has to like, and this kind of comes down to some of our, not necessarily play calling, but just like how we execute our offense. I feel like over this last week, there's been a couple times where it's like we literally just sat there for 20 seconds, and now there's 4 seconds left, and we just have to chunk it to one of our players to make a decision.
Exactly. So like, if you can hate on Rudy, but like when we're having to ask for DeMar DeRozan or Lonnie Walker to take more shots, you don't have to ask Rudy Gay. Like Rudy Gay, he probably sensed that same thing. And it's like, well, got to get these shots up. Somebody's got to try to, you know what I mean? So I love watching. I don't get a chance to watch, but like every time I watch a Spurs game, it's got to be like on the away announcers feed. I won't say how I watch the games, but
Yeah.
But when I do get a chance to hear Sean Elliott talk, like he talks about Rudy Gay the way I talk about Rudy Gay, which is just like knowing where his strengths are. And I don't think Rudy Gay really plays outside of himself all that much, but his role is just different. I think at the beginning of the year, I think he'll be a very valuable piece with a diminished responsibility when we're at full strength.
For sure. Okay, well, let's go ahead and move on to the next LA team, and we went ahead and beat the Lakers in a little bit of a better game, honestly. We beat them 118-109. We'll go ahead and look at our scores. LaMarcus had a really nice night of 28 points on 11 for 18 shooting. You can't get mad at seeing him shoot 7 threes. He already said that he was all in on that jump, to be shooting more threes. So I can't get mad at him shooting 7 threes and only making 3 of them. We also had DJ, who had an 18-8-8 night. That was 18-2-8 night. Sorry, and it was another solid night. He played out there, and he's definitely proving all of the people and me wrong about how we felt about him.
Jakob wrong.
So
he probably watched episode 1.
And then we also had Rudy, who came out here with 15 points off the bench. It was pretty good all around from our team. Everybody was able to get their dues, and while only one player and KJ had a bit of a rough night, and I feel like most of this had to do with no calls, but he had a rough night nonetheless. We were able to make up for it and have all of our other players score.
Yeah. Well, look at that shot. Look at that shot distribution right there in that win, right? 13, 10, 18, 14, 11, 10 for Rudy. Like that's good distribution. You know what I mean? 8 for Mills. Obviously, we were shooting well enough to be in the lead for, I don't know, almost the whole game or the whole game?
It was the whole game. They said that the Lakers never led.
Right?
They tied it, but they never led.
Exactly. So like, I think we're as now that we're getting more and more games under the year, we're starting to be able to see some trends and see what do we think is going to like last throughout the year. I think it is showing us, we're going to have to be balanced. The big night from LA, that's great. And I think we are going to need at least one person to kind of lead the charge every night, but we're going to have to spread it,
Mm-hmm. And then looking at their team, honestly, it was kind of crazy when I saw this, but LeBron had a 27, 12, and 6 night. Like it is a little weird whenever I go back and I look at the box scores and like the players like LeBron, even Kawhi, like with LeBron, sometimes like you'll see his impact out there, but like I did not see 12 assists from LeBron that night. And when I came to check the box scores and he had 12 assists and 6 boards, I was like, wow, like. I mean, he's putting up quality numbers for them that night. So it's not even like him or AD were having an off night. It was like we were just able to outplay like the rest of their team. Trez only got 10 points off the bench for them. That Taylor Horton Tucker kid had gotten 10 points for them. So they really didn't have a lot of anything else other than LeBron and AD that night. And.
Mm-hmm.
It's the kind of night. Same thing. Like Schroeder only shot 3 for 11. So, I definitely am happy that we were able to get our shots up well, and like Chris said, like in a nice balanced way, we were able to get our shots up well, and then they just weren't able to get anything to land for them, even with LeBron's 12 assists. So.
Yeah. See, and you were talking about KJ's off night. Well, I mean, he's guarding Anthony Davis or LeBron James like at all time. So like you kind of just like pat him on the back and like, yeah, he had an off night, but look who he's guarding. Look where all his energy is going. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And it's not like he held LeBron or held AD. 27 and 23 apiece, but like he plays his ass off every single night.
Yeah.
He's taking on those defensive assignments. Like for the majority of our game so far, he's been guarding the best player on the court. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So like I feel like KJ is gonna have those nights that that he might go 2 for 10, but man, like his impact on that floor is so much more than his offensive scoring. So I think he still played a great game, even though he didn't show like points wise. Like he still played great.
Yeah, and you can be discouraged about like his maybe lack of whatever at the rim, but like 2 for 10 on a guy who like right now 85% of his moves to the basket involve like harsh contact. You know what I mean? So you're gonna see some regression in terms of he's been pretty successful. But and it's kind of like Sean Elliott and some of the other people, and like Josh and Jake were actually both saying this last episode, I believe, about how like pushing, getting tested, having to test your strength at the rim against AD and all that is going to start to pay real big dividends when you get to go against some of the lesser competition, right? So, and I think that's what Sean was saying yesterday. Like, what did he say? He was like, you got Keldon Johnson. He was like, you got Ricky Rubio on him. He was like,
You got
murder him.
Yeah, destroy him. Put him in the torture chamber. He said.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Like when I see like we're gonna go against LA for a guy like Keldon, in my head, I'm like, okay, if I see 2 for 10, that doesn't surprise me. You know what I mean? Especially on a night if he's not really hitting his threes, because that is kind of what gets him going. That could be something that gets him going. You know what I mean? It's shooting those outside rainbows and then opening the lane up for himself. So I mean, he's gonna. That's why I'm saying if we can always have somebody kind of leading the charge, because we're gonna have between Keldon, Lonnie, DJ, and I guess Derek White. But right now, I'll just say the three, since those are the ones that we're kind of rolling with. I think that there's going to be at least maybe like one per game that just kind of doesn't have it. You know what I mean? Maybe the shots aren't falling. Maybe just the way the minutes, how it's rolling out. It's like they just don't get as many opportunities or whatever. So it's like if we can have LA or DeMar and to a lesser extent Patty and Rudy off the bench, kind of like leading the charge, and then all right to kind of soften that blow for when one of our guys, our young guys are going to be up and down.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and move on to the final game of the week, which was our Spurs playing against the Timberwolves in an OT night. We beat them 125-122, and our good old boy DeMar DeRozan had a solid 38 points on 13 for 23 shooting. He also, made it to the line a couple amount of times and was able to get 12 free throws out of that one. So it was a pretty good night from him all around. DJ had a solid 22 points with 14 boards to put up a solid double-double. And KJ, he picked it up that next night and got a 17 on 6 for 12 shooting. So, and he's not even a bad 3-point shooter. He's even though like 2 for 5 is not crazy. I mean, like I'm not upset seeing him making 2 threes a night. So
yeah, really. I think he only took 4 threes that were like good shots. One of them, they gave it to him at the end of a shot clock, and he just had to throw that shit up there. So I mean, 2 for 4 at 50% from 3-point line. That's great.
Yeah. And we also had Patty, who once again, he's been killing it this year. So 21 points on 5 for 8.
Fire, man.
3. Yeah, he's definitely been a great help, especially with the absence of Derek White.
That's FIBA Patty right there.
Mm-hmm. And then on their team, a little bit crazier, but Malik Beasley, he went off for them, got 29 points on a 7 for 11 threes. So that was really, really good help for them. A big reason as to why they were able to stay in it with us, because D'Angelo Russell only shot 7 for 22, even though he got 16 points. It wasn't a great shooting night for him.
And the 1 for 6, the 1 3-pointer he hit was huge.
It was a clean looking 3-pointer too, man.
Yeah.
As much as I don't like us playing against D'Lo. I love D'Lo. D'Lo's
Speaking of D'Lo, what kind of jersey you got on?
Yeah, I know. I got a cool little Brooklyn number 1. My Brooklyn number 1 D'Lo jersey. Why? Just because it was a good looking jersey that I saw at the time, and I was like, man, I gotta cop it.
No, but I mean, why are you wearing it right now? That's what I mean.
Why am I wearing it right now? Oh man,
it's disrespect. The disrespect is super.
Nah. I just had to look clean today, man. It looked.
He put it on for the game tonight. I think. I told you he was a hater. I don't know why.
Nah, never. This was D'Lo's team too. Like how many years ago? Like he's been on the Warriors and now the Timberwolves since he's been a Brooklyn Net. So it's
I
not
mean,
even like
two team. I agree. I subscribe to the 2-team separation is the limit, but also I'm a subscriber to only during the off season do I wear the other jerseys.
oh man. Just wait for next week's podcast. Y'all really see a nice jersey.
So Jake,
Oh my God.
so like do you think that Russell has a potential to kind of have like a rebound game tonight?
I honestly, yeah, I think that he like if he can get himself in a good rhythm, like it'll be a problem tonight. If Malik, I don't think Malik Beasley's gonna go off like he did last night. And we also talk we didn't talk about Naj Reed, just like a second-year player who scored 16 off the bench for them. He shot 3 for 4 from 3. Like,
Yeah,
that kind of stuff.
So between the two, 10 for 15. Like tonight, I wouldn't chalk that up. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like even if D'Angelo Russell goes off because 7 for 22, I think he will rebound. But I don't think. I mean, I could be wrong, but I don't think we're going to see another 29 from Beasley or another 16 from Reed tonight.
Well, but I mean, okay, so Reed obviously 3 for 4 helps him, right? And those are big, and it felt like most of those threes were like, okay, those
in
are
the corner, in the short corner.
Yeah, in the corner, and also it was like that's the shot we're willing to give up, right? Off of the in terms of our defense. But I mean, the other he just felt like he was making good opportunities all night, and it does kind of speak a little bit to the amount of like athletic bigs that have just been giving us trouble, I guess. And like, how are we going to combat like a better skilled big center who can do some similar things? But yeah, I mean, I could see Beasley. Beasley right now, his average is 18.9 points per game. Obviously, this 29 point is going to help that average. But let's say him and Russell kind of swapped, right? Let's say Russell goes off for closer to 30, and Beasley's dropping closer to like 18. So it honestly could kind of even itself out in terms of their point distribution, just if they were to swap.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I mean, obviously, Cat also, he got his due. He got his 25 and 13. Like he did his thing.
With one hand.
Yeah, right.
Oh, and we'll see about that hand, because it looked like he was like later on in the game he was like grimacing,
like
when
it was aggravating him.
Yeah, so maybe it's a little sore tonight. Maybe he doesn't get out there.
Yeah, or even if he plays, like, there's a couple of those plays where he tried to get the swipe foul on LA or something like that. It's like you'll second guess yourself in moments like that when the last night, like you got to the line, but damn, you had to take the punishment for it.
Yeah.
So it might affect his decision making skills. But then again, if he's still commanding, if he does just enough to command attention, maybe he's still that's enough to kind of keep setting up his teammates and whatnot. I think we did a good job of containing Rubio and containing the Rook too. Edwards is at 15 and a half a game, so he's right at his average. But I mean, he just feels like a guy who, in a game like yesterday where we were, it was pretty close, but it's like, okay, who's going to kind of take command of the game? You could see like an Anthony Edwards he has a little bit of that swagger to him.
He's huge. He's huge for being 19 years old.
Yeah, this was my first time kind of seeing him full on in action. So he definitely seems like he's got a little bit of that some of those qualities, right? So I think we'll have to definitely keep him on the list for like who we're watching for tonight.
Mm-hmm. And I don't, like who knows? Maybe he does take a layup instead of passing it out like he did that last night. It's just a little rookie mistake there that he made.
That looked like us.
Yeah, you're talking about the end of the game, right?
At the end of the game, that looked like just like we did.
Exactly. Yeah, that's I got the same feeling too when he drove and just kind of was a little indecisive. He had another run at the rim where he got pretty high up. Man, I was like, oh dang.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, number one. He's number one pick for a reason, guys.
Speaking of getting high up, man, that foul, that whack foul that they called when Lonnie had that fast break, man, he got up there. I wish I would have let him finish that. That's what we need, and then and that would have got him going, because Lonnie didn't shoot the ball too much last night either. Maybe he has a bounce back game. 8 shots, and he had like that weird like little, I don't know what he did. He's like indecisive in the air. He's gonna like lay it up or pass it or something. Like he had a couple of those. Like I wish he would just dunk on people. Like don't even talk about it. Just go over. Oh well, if you charge, you get the charge. Take the foul, whatever. But just go in there like with that mindset that I'm gonna postarize you.
Yeah,
Just
you're
move,
right.
like move, like because he's done that a couple times. Like just goes up there and I don't know what the hell he does. He wants to lay up, he wants to dunk, he wants to pass like all at the same damn time.
Yep.
Like, just throw it down, man, and hopefully that whistle goes your way.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. I
But
do
I mean,
think
but you
that
can see where that decision, like where the hesitancy is, because like you said, throw it down and hope the whistle goes your way. Okay, well, imagine going to pop and say like, well, I was just hoping the whistle was going to go my way.
Well,
sit on the bench for the
if he's
next
dunking
recording.
on somebody, like what are you gonna like? What is
Well,
top to be mad about? If you're rising over the top and he's going full speed and like yesterday was on fast breaks, like on fast breaks the defender's backpedaling and he's doing the same thing. He's guessing like he's either gonna guess right or guess wrong. Like if Lonnie goes over the top of him.
Yeah, in the fast break setting, I could definitely see that. I'm just thinking more of the sense of like like a you got to be thinking about, well, hopefully his feet is correct, or it's like if I did a good job of breaking him off, is the best shot me trying to get this layup over this dude, or is it like, look, I see my teammate over there, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, well, like last night he had a couple drives like that. He missed that dunk, right after DeMar had that nice dunk down the lane. Lonnie came back with the left and it rimmed out, man. But I wish he would just attack more, man. And hopefully we'll get that tonight.
I think one of my things for Lonnie is I feel like I don't ever see any plays drawn up for him. Nothing that like unless it's last second, or like, yeah, we were able to draw in the defense to give Lonnie a shot because it should have been DeMar's layup or something like that, right? Like I feel like he doesn't get enough plays that like are centered for him, for them to be like, all right, Lonnie, either the ball's in your hand or you're coming off this screen and we want you to get the ball and do something,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I don't ever see that. And obviously DJ's, he's old enough to where we'll have a couple plays set for him, even KJ will have some of his stuff that like some of its opportunities, some of it is drawn up like, all right.
But KJ has the benefit of he's out there with the starting unit, so it is a little bit of like anytime that it's like maybe something's drawn up for him, it's mostly based off of probably misdirect. You know what I mean? Like we're getting the ball to DeMar so that he can get it to you or something like that.
And we could I feel like we could do the same thing with Lonnie, like off ball screens and stuff like that. Like if we're doing an off ball screen and then DeMar is also doing his pick and roll action, we'll see what they do to counter what we have going on the other side of the half court, So.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I do think that'll change and that'll probably benefit. We'll start to see some more benefits when like we get Derek White back because that's another playmaker. You know what I mean? Like, okay, like so you can have more off ball opportunities or second. I don't know how like the proper term for like secondary opportunities for Lonnie if you know that the play is being initiated by a guy like Derek.
Like Derek, I get what you're saying.
But I mean, 28 minutes. He's playing up there with the starters, but he is like on that second tier. He's, at least in terms of like last night. You know what I mean? So like 2 for 8. It's like I can see why he's not taking that many shots on a night like that, especially when you see like DeMar DeRozan taking 23 shots. Murray had 18 shots. That's a lot of shots for him, but he was getting to the rim. You know what I mean? And he was being real. I think he was being real smart with his. He was being real smart with his jump shots yesterday.
Yeah. Well, we already kind of touched base on how we feel about tonight against the Timberwolves. Is there anything else that y'all want to add? Like what y'all think that we could do to get another W tonight?
Yeah. Well, watching the game and Sean Elliott talked about this too. At the very beginning of the game, I felt like we took no shots in the paint. We were throwing up threes left and right, like
big
to start the game off, nothing but threes. And I'm glad, right? Because I want our guys to shoot more threes, and obviously, like we're capable. We have capable shooters, to knock those threes down. But damn, we don't got to take them all the time, And he kind of joked, right? He's like, man, it looks like we're playing like the Rockets, We look like Houston right now, and that's what I don't want. I don't want them to fall in love with that 3-pointer because we have guys that can attack the rim, and that's what they need to do, And then when those guys are worried about getting, blown by and giving up layups, then it gives them the space to take good threes. But hopefully we don't fall in love with that 3-point line to start the game off like we did yesterday. Even though we got the dub, I would like to see us attack that paint especially if Cat's not going to play. I don't know. I haven't read nothing. I haven't seen nothing, but I'm just going off what I saw last night because he looked like he was, in pain with his injury before on his wrist.
Yeah.
So, but we need to attack.
And he even said in terms of his hand, I think in the post game stuff, he mentioned that he kind of rushed to get back a little on the fast end. So, so yeah, you can tell he's not 100% yet. But
I will say this real quick, just because Josh brought it up and it kind of reminded me, like yeah, we're not playing in the paint, but I do not want to see half court sets of LaMarcus in the post unless that man is going off.
Okay, but also like at the big, that LA is a rhythm guy. You know what I mean? And so it's
it was at the end of the game though. Like what does he need to what rhythm does he need when it's the like it was in the fourth quarter and DeMar, I don't think DeMar was like he was the hot hand, but at the same time like DeMar was also kind of like he just hadn't started to get his momentum yet, and we started running a half court set with LaMarcus down low against Karl-Anthony Towns, and I was like I know Karl-Anthony Towns isn't the greatest defender, but
how did the play end though? I feel like every time he was down low, I feel like he played smart. Like you have to do it. You have to be varied in your approach.
I mean, yeah, you're right. You have to be varied, but I just I don't know. It was in the moment, and I was like, man, I don't want to see this again. It makes me wonder what our play decisions would have been if DeMar wasn't going off that night. Like if DeMar only had 16, 17 points and the game was still close, right? But if you only had 16, 17 points, like would we really be resorting to LaMarcus?
Well, okay, so let's say DeMar is kind of struggling or just having a whatever game. He's not kind of taking over. Like it felt like he was ready to take over last night, right towards the end.
Mm-hmm.
But let's say that's not happening. Well, I mean, then in that regard, you're giving it to one of your best. We're trying to find answers. We're trying to find a win. We're trying to find points. You give it to your best player, and you put him in a position where he's super comfortable to either A, make a play on Cat, or B, set his shooters up. You know what I mean? So like it's got to be. You cannot abandon it. The guy's been great at it for a decade. You know what I mean? In the best league in the world. So like you can't just abandon those kind of things. Even in the height of 2014, the beautiful game, there's times when you need to give the ball to Tim Duncan, put him on the block, and just like stand there for a second. You know what I mean? Like, and sometimes he will miss the shot. You know what I'm saying? So like,
Timmy is Timmy, dog. No Timmy slander. I don't want to hear it.
Yeah, nobody's talking bad about Tim Duncan, but what I'm saying is that our offense was not centered around Tim Duncan at that time, but there are moments that you got to do it. You know what I mean? Right. And okay, at the end of the game, you give the ball to LaMarcus Aldridge on a turnaround jumper in one of his sweet spots. Do you like that opportunity, or
it's
no?
It's just that mid range. Like it's different when you're throwing it to Timmy. Like Timmy's throwing layups. Like he's around the rim. It's LaMarcus. The only thing with LaMarcus is the majority of the time, instead of even when he gets a smaller guy on him, it's like no matter who's on him, instead of using his size, and I know Cat, he's a center, but like he doesn't use it. He just takes his two dribbles and then turns around fades on everybody.
Yeah.
That's what's frustrating, because I would much rather, you're right. He could take the shot and miss the shot, but I would rather, back down and take little hooks around the rim, that give him a shot.
Well, he got into the paint against Cat as well.
Last night he did.
Yeah. And to be fair, I remember like it was close to the same type of set, right? Like we throw it down to LaMarcus, and instead of LaMarcus doing that fade away, he kind of fakes Cat, and then gets him on his shoulder, does his little hook thing,
ripped into the middle.
Yeah, and gets his foul, right? Gets his 2 free throws. So I mean, like obviously, it works sometimes, but it's just like it was just like a little bit of like, oh no, please don't, like don't scare me like this, San Antonio.
It's if you have Patrick Mahomes on your team, you still have to like run the ball on first down every now and then. You know what I mean? To like let to keep the defense honest. You got to show your strengths to let them know that your presence is there in all areas of the court. Because then at the end of the game, now your head is thinking, well, I'm gonna guard this because they've been doing this all night long. Versus like, well, damn, they've kind of been hitting from all over the spots. I really don't know where they're gonna come from right now. You know what I mean? So I don't know. Like, I'm okay with giving the guys their shots. I mean, they've earned their minutes, they've earned their names, they've earned their game in the NBA. You know what I mean? And I know that we're still, we're trying to find the balance. We're trying to, when do we rely on our young guys and when do we rely on the vets? Like this past couple of games, I think it's been our vets. It's been Patty and it's been Patty and Rudy off the bench, especially against LA, the two LA teams, and then it's been from the starters. It's been LA and DeMar. Like they've been holding it down for us. This past 4 games have been the vets, and then it's which young guy is going to kind of take the night to make it their opportunity to kind of step forward. That's kind of what it's looking like for me. Of like, we're going to need LA, Rudy, DeMar, and Patty to be pretty consistent all year, so that we give the opportunity every night is an opportunity for one or more young guys to step up and shine.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
And I feel exactly what you're saying. But DeJounte has been thrown in there in the consistency. Other than that game, two buckets. That was the
Utah,
the one game against Utah.
The Utah game. But he's been consistent, and it's like when we get that consistency, because DeMar had 6 points, the other night, and that was his off game as well as that Utah game. Everybody was off, but if we get DeJounte putting up the numbers that he's been putting up all season, consistent like that, and then we get somebody else along for the ride, like you said, KJ or Alani or whoever, Vasil, once they start finding their game and getting going, like it's gonna be pretty tough for other guys to guard everybody, because DeMar's gonna do his thing, LA could do his thing, and DeJounte putting up his putting up along with somebody else. That's a good recipe for dubs.
That's the hope. That's the hope, is that over the course of the season, that the opportunities to shine now just become, you're playing consistently good, right? Yeah. And then even beyond that season, beyond this season, it's like, okay, Patty's not going to be, and Patty and Rudy are not going to be those guys. At eventually next year, you slide in where KJ and Lonnie. Okay, we need you to do this every night. You know what I mean? So. I think we're headed in the right direction. I'm super glad, especially after last week we had to do our episode after like an 0-3 week, and what felt like we had some winnable games in there. And so this week it's good to come back and we're like, okay, like we did good things. We're not perfect, but we did enough to win three out of the 4 games. So like I'm excited. We had a good week as as Spurs fans.
Mm-hmm.
For sure. Okay, well, let's go ahead and move on to the next game then, which is going to be later this week against the Thunder. And so the Thunder, let me see if I can get this little pulled up. I don't think it has their record right here, but obviously, as a lot of people know, the Thunder are a young team. They're not exactly a playoff team. They traded Chris Paul, got some picks in returns, and this is definitely just like a transition year for them, because they're just looking to get their draft pick, get the other team's draft picks, move on, and like players like Trevor Ariza, George Hill, Al Horford. It's not like they're here long term, So, but this is what their team's looking like. I also have a projected starting lineup for them. This is Shea at the point, George at the 2, or it might be vice versa, whatever. Lou Dort at the 3, Darius Bazley at the 4, and Al Horford at the 5. How do y'all feel about this? How do y'all feel about this team coming in this week?
I think this is the. Oh, go ahead, Josh.
Go ahead, Chris. Go ahead. No, I'll let you go.
All right. Well, like the first thing, okay. First of all, I was watching the Tony Parker doc earlier, and Kobe was talking about or maybe it was Kobe talking about the Spurs versus the Cavs in the 2007 finals. And he was saying like the Spurs saw that matchup into like, this is the angle, right? That's the angle. So like when I'm looking at this line, I'm like, all right, I want to see Keldon Johnson destroy Dort on the court. Like, I don't think there's any reason that he should be able to handle that big time. And I know Dort plays big. He's small, but he's tough and all that kind of stuff. But this is like my, when I see it, like, all right, prime example, KJ, let's see you shine.
It would be Bazley. It would be
Bazley, I believe.
It would be Bazley that would be guarding. That would be the matchup.
Who would? Okay, so you got Alexander at the point.
Alexander and DJ. Then you'd have Lonnie against George Hill, DeMar against Dort, KJ and Bazley, and then LA and Al Horford.
Okay. And yeah, okay. So maybe now that I'm looking at it, small forward, they probably will have Baisley on there. Well, then either way, no offense to Dort, but then okay, Demar, then it's Demar.
Well, so I think same thing. KJ go out Baisley.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the same. It's the
He's
same.
he's for sure. Baisley's for sure. From what I saw at the bubble, and this was a good bit ago. Maybe he's gotten a little bit better. But what I saw at the bubble, he was more of a stretch, and he tries on defense, but obviously like isn't the greatest defender in the world. So
Yeah, he's averaging 12 points a game. 12 points a game, 8 rebounds a game, only one 1.4 3-point.
Attempts.
So it's not going to be no
What is his
1.4 is what he makes a game.
Oh, made okay. What is his
makes
size?
1.4 attempts 5. What'd you say?
What is his size? How big is that guy? Because this seems like a game where KJ could get going. The way KJ plays, he's so physical, and I don't know. I'm just looking at this guy's headshot. So really, I don't have much to.
Baisley is 6'8", 208 pounds.
Yeah, see, he looks tiny, like compared to going at KJ. And if KJ could throw his body around and start getting some of those calls, man, and start and get to the line a couple of times this game, that looks like a favorable matchup.
Yeah, I would agree.
For sure.
What is Dort's height? Go ahead, Jake. Sorry.
Dort's height.
Dort is at 6'4", 215.
Yeah, so like this team, like I was saying, it's not exactly like one of the most scariest teams that we're gonna see this season and stuff like that. But there's always gonna be those little times that like maybe Al Horford does something good this game, maybe Shea goes off more, and kind of leads me into my next question of do y'all think Shea is better than DJ, or do y'all think DJ is better than Shea?
Boy, you don't even ask me. You already know the answer. You just wasted time.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like the last couple seasons, obviously DJ's a whole another player than what he used to be. But like 2 seasons ago, I'd honestly say they were on the same level. Shay's a solid scorer. He could really do it decently well on all three levels, and DJ just couldn't do that. But DJ was a way better defender than Shea was. DJ made his an all defensive team before Shea would ever make an all NBA team for sure. But I mean, so it's like last year DJ was coming off an injury, right? And Shea had a really solid year. He had a really solid year with OKC. One of the things that you could say was that like even though that they were winning games, that they made it to the playoffs, like Shea was probably like just a little bit hindered by the fact that he was playing with Dennis Schroeder and Chris Paul. Now he's on a team where it's literally just him and George Hill, Al Horford, So it's like he's gonna have this year to show what he is made of for sure. And who knows, maybe that offensive potential could be really, really good compared to what DJ can do.
Yeah, it'll be tough though, because I mean, you're talking about him kind of being buried a little bit behind Schroeder and CP. But then the flip side of that is like when you are like one of, if not the only point of attack for your team every single night, you're also where 80% of the defensive, energy is going towards, is stopping him, because it's like, all right, if we can stop Shea, what else do they got? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So
thank you.
Exactly right. So he might have to work real hard just to, or I guess I should say like his numbers might not reflect like how hard he's working or how much improvement he's had this year or any of that kind of, or especially how many wins they might end up with this, for the end of the year. But I mean, I will say like, it is cool to kind of see DeJounte. I know that Shea kind of gets a little bit more of like the national media, even though he doesn't get a whole bunch, but he's more of I would say he's more of a well-known name than DeJounte is. So it's cool to see DeJounte's numbers start to creep up a little bit closer to like some of those other point guards that get a lot of that mention.
Yeah, for sure. I like one of the only reasons why I ever want to bring these type of discussions up is because like it's fascinating, these are the players that are around DJ's level, and they're all still young, they're all still growing, they're all still getting better. So it's like it's fun to kind of figure out where we'd want to like place him, where we think DJ is compared to other players. Because like, I mean, obviously on any other night, like and this is only just because DJ's young, you go against somebody who's 29, 28 years old, and you already know how good they are, like that they're not going to get that much better, and unless a horrific injury happens, they're not getting worse anytime soon. So it's kind of easy for you to compare like how good they could be compared to DJ. But like with somebody like Shea, Shea's still young. They're both still getting better, So
Yeah,
it's like,
but I feel like scoring in the NBA is not. I'm not going to say it's easy because I don't know, but everybody scores. Like you have to find the players that do the other things. Looking at Shea, when are you going to see Shea lead his team in rebounding like DeJounte does for us consistently? You know what I mean? And then play the defense. Like, okay, okay, Shea gets his outfit awards from Bleacher Report. Shea, they look at his shoes all the time. They look at it, whatever the hell. And he scores the ball. Like that's everybody now.
but
Like,
look at what the NBA's turned to. Like no one, like the NBA, not worship the NBA. Like they want players who can score more than they want players who can defend.
yeah, and that's fine, but that doesn't.
And so if DJ and like I said before, DJ's still young, he's still growing, he could become a really good scorer. But like if DJ can be a defender and can't score above 18 points, like if we don't have DeMar and LaMarcus on our team forever, like who are we gonna get that? And I'm just talking about on a specific player by player. Like obviously,
right.
If Shea's with another defender, because like the thing is like specifically, if you're on two different teams but had the exact same level of talent on each team, right? Like who would you value more? Like I would kind of value the guy who can score 30. I don't know, maybe I don't know how good of a playmaker Shea is, but let's just say like, he does get his 35 and 2 compared to DJ's 18, 8 and 8, right? And that's like on a good night for both of them at the moment, right? If that's kind of the way it is, like the points are going to be a little bit more than what the rebounds and the assists can be from what DJ can have. You know what I mean?
I guess, yeah, but it's like that's what you're saying about like okay.
So you're just saying he's a better scorer than DeJounte. If you're talking about them, who's better, this or this, and you're saying, well, Shea can score better. Okay, so that's one aspect of the basketball in general. That's one aspect. So if DJ does everything else better, how are you going to say he's better than him?
You're right. Like I mean, like you're saying that's one aspect, but that's probably like at the moment the most important aspect of the game right now.
And Shea scores, like you say, well, last year he was hindered, whatever. And so is DeJounte, because DeJounte doesn't have to score in our offense right now. Maybe when LA's gone and R's gone. But that's not DeJounte. Like if we get 18 from DeJounte throughout the year, that's a bonus. Like I did not expect him to score 18 points every game this year. I want him to play defense. I want him to make good decisions, and I want him to grab his boards, because that's what I feel his game is now. So this 18 is out of nowhere for me. He's like a all defensive player that can rebound, that can score now. Like 18 is not. It's not like scrub numbers. You're talking about whatever. And I can't tell you what Shea's averaging this year, but
Shea's averaging 19.8 points per game, 6.8 assists per game, 5.3 rebounds, 75% from the line, 45% ish from the field. So he's doing well, but kind of like Josh was saying, like what is his responsibility? If you were saying you mentioned like the line, said, okay, would you take Shea's 30 and 5 and 2 or whatever, and that's like a good night for him. But like, could you ever envision DeJounte Murray going off for 30 in a game? The answer is probably yes. You know what I mean? Just based on his skills, could he pull out a 30-point game with 10 rebounds and 8 assists?
And he just did. He just did a couple games ago.
You know what I'm saying? So he's capable of scoring. You know what I mean?
For sure. Like, I mean, and I think that DJ's still can hit, like, his cap on his offensive abilities haven't like been there. You know, like he's gonna
get
growing.
better and better.
Yeah, but like the same can be said for Shea, and like it's not even like Shea's offense abilities can get better. Like everything that Shea does can get better. He can become a better playmaker. He can probably defend. He's a 6'5" point guard just like DJ, you know. So like they both have that size against other point guards in the league, that like if he does raise like just be able to raise defensive awareness, you know, then he can probably.
And that's one thing I feel like I'm not going to say you can't teach it or you can't get better at it, but the guys that are like good at defense, that's just like what they love to do. They love to play defense. It's like it's in them, you know what I mean? And yeah, you can get better, and you can like develop yourself into all defensive player, or not all defense, but just a better defender. But like DeJounte, that shit's just there already, you know. Same thing with Kawhi. Like Kawhi, like Chip is great, like, you know, developing our guys, and you see what he did with Tony. Like, you know, his shot got way better as his went on in San Antonio, and everything like that. Like he had the teardrop, and he was good around the rim, and then as he got older with San Antonio, he just like his game just continued out towards the three-point line, and then he was knocked down. So DJ's already getting to the rim. He's finishing better than he did, you know, in previous years. Obviously, last year was coming off the injury, but whatever. Like, so he's only going to get better offensively with that defense. Man, I feel like his potential is so much higher than a lot of people think, because we see him, we watch him play all the time, and I don't think anybody else does really, because they don't put DJ in a lot of like maps point guard wise, the young point guards. It's always about the jaws, whatever. Like, we saw Jaw drop 44 on us. What did that result in?
Mm-hmm.
Fat ass L.
Yeah, and I think, but I do think like that's kind of what Jake is saying. Like, it's fun to put D in these conversations because it's fun to see where, like, or it's interesting to see how close these comparisons are to a guy like Shea, who does get put into those conversations, like you were saying, Josh. You know what I mean? When they talk about the younger guards. So
they disrespect DJ too much.
Yeah, but I mean, so the same way that DeJounte said at the beginning of the year, like, it's up to us to win games to make them put us on the national TV schedule. You know, it's up to maybe us or other people who talk about the Spurs, you know, to keep pushing that message out and show like, hey man, DJ can play just as much as all these other young guards can play, you know. And the good thing is, like, you know, we could eventually have hopefully two of those kind of guards.
Mm-hmm.
For sure. All right, let's go ahead and move on to the next two games, because it's going to just be like our first game, or the next two games of the week will be going against the Houston Rockets. That'll be.
Are they both in Houston or in San Antonio?
They're both in San Antonio.
San Antonio.
Home games.
This is what the roster is looking like. Note that Chris Clemens tore his ACL, I think, or his Achilles, right? Yeah, something like that. He got injured in his preseason game against us, so very unfortunate to see that. But he won't be playing. Against us, and obviously they have some really, really good players on this team that stand out. Obviously, you know, John Wall. I've always loved John Wall. I've always felt like you know, like people kind of underrated him, as much as I was literally just talking about how I would value offense over defense. You know, I feel like people would underrate how good of a defensive point guard John Wall was. But obviously he's still coming off an injury, so he still has time to adjust, right? And then they even have another really good center/forward in Christian Wood, and of course, you know, this guy too, right? But like, we're just gonna go ahead and move on from him, you know, because I don't think he'll be in Houston much longer. I don't know about y'all, but I think
in terms of like in terms of his behavior or whatever, yeah, you could say that he obviously doesn't. He's okay to leave, but at the same time, like if you're Houston and you got a guy who is able to miss every practice and show up kind of looking a little out of shape and stuff, and still like drop 30, and you have him on contract for this year plus beyond. It's like, are you in a rush? Are you in a rush to trade him? You know, you have to try to find that balance of like getting wins and losing your like team culture and losing your, you know, the trust of your other players.
Having a toxic player in the locker room.
So
Hey,
I mean,
James
me personally, man, as a
scorer, not a defender, Jake. I know. I'm just looking. I was looking at you were talking about James, and I was like thinking of the conversation we just had in for Shea and DJ. And James Harden doesn't play no type of defense, and I for some reason I feel like he's never going to win a championship.
Yeah. Well, but again, if you
he sells a lot of tickets. He sells a lot of tickets, and he probably makes the owners a lot of money. And I know there's not a team in the NBA that would not love to have James Harden, but it's just like, God.
The way that I feel about that is the fact that literally before this offseason, I would agree with you. I would literally tell you James Harden will never win a championship. But it honestly wasn't him. Like it was the system that the Rockets played with, which was give James Harden the ball and ISO the entire time. And that obviously that's not going to win championships. You know, a lot of people have said that that's not going to win you a championship. Kobe Bryant said that wouldn't win him a championship. And yeah, like it won't. But like in the offseason, like it was just one report that I read. I don't know if this is super true or not. You know, I don't know how he really feels about the situation, but like they were saying that when James Harden requested a trade, that whatever team that he went to, he didn't care if he was the first option, that he would actually prefer to be in a team system oriented offense.
See,
and that will win a championship.
I don't know about that because I have yet to
number one option on a team. What do you mean? He like the OKC Thunder made it to the finals when he was that young, and they had Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook. Like,
but I have yet to see him in Houston. In Houston, like and Chris Paul, they fought about this when James Harden did not have that ball in his hand. What was he doing? He made no cuts. He made no back screens. He made no screens. He would stand there.
That's
and maybe he changed
offense. That's because of the offensive system that Mike D'Antoni put in for them. And like if
you're not telling me the coach told him to stand there.
I'm telling you that the system that they ran probably had James Harden doing some like didn't have him doing as much as what he could be doing in a team offense, you know?
Yeah, but as the best player on that team, he should. I mean, he got to speak up. If that's not going to work, and he felt that way. I mean, it's not hard to tell the coach that.
Yeah, I mean,
rather than just say like they had a good team. You know, what I mean, they had a good team. I mean, it's easier to say, hey, let's change this up than just to say, all right, trade me. I want to be on a different team with a different culture. Like you have the pieces. Don't tell me that they weren't good enough to win a championship with the team they had last year because they were.
I think, yeah, and I think that Houston became a great example of when you kind of please the player a little too much, I guess. I don't know. Maybe it was definitely a different situation over there because like I just feel like if I saw James Harden and I don't know what pieces they give him, but if I saw James Harden get traded to the Miami Heat the next day, I would automatically think that they're a finals contender. Like that the scheme that Spo would run with an offensive superstar like James Harden, they don't even have crazy offensive guys as it is. You know, like Goran Dragic can kind of score. Tyler Hero's a good shooter. Duncan Robinson's a great shooter, but Jimmy Butler
those guys would be gone.
Jimmy Butler's not known. Jimmy Butler's not known for his scoring. Bam Adebayo is not an outside shooter, so it's like, you know what like. You see them win games with what they have offensively. Now imagine you add pretty much, in my opinion, the greatest scorer of all time. You know? Like imagine if that got added to the Miami Heat. Like I would say that's a finals championship contender, if not like my favorite contender, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and to be honest, man, how many times have we seen a superstar, like somebody who is good enough to lead a team? They might, whether you think that person would ever get to a championship on their own is one thing, but how many times have you seen like a superstar go team up and like, it's like, okay, it's easier to do the things that they do when they don't have 100% of the responsibility on their team. You know what I mean? And so, I mean, yeah, James Harden on any other team where where he's like a complimentary player or just like a 1-2 punch, it's gonna be dangerous because he doesn't have to do as much.
But that's what he has right now.
Yes, but also, right but also he's got a lot more. His role in Houston is just different, and he asked for a lot of it. That's why he left OKC. So I mean, and I'm not necessarily making excuses for him. And I'm a Spurs fan, and I'm also like a big NBA fan. I love to root for a lot of players, and I like a lot of different teams based off of their culture and their style of play and all that kind of stuff. But I am A1. I am A-okay to just hate on Houston like forever.
Me too. Which is why I want them to trade James Harden for like a bucket of snails and move on with their life.
That's why I feel bad because I'm the same way, but I'm a big John Wall fan, and I'm like, damn,
I love John Wall.
And me and Josh, we grew up watching Yao Ming and Tracy McGrady, like that era of Houston ball, and like there's a lot of stuff to enjoy and respect about those teams too. You know what I mean? So and it's fun. It's fun having those matches. Like like
Steve Francis. Don't forget about Steve Francis. Talk.
Yeah. Like I'm happy. I'm happy that the Spurs got a chance to play with Dirk through that, or that I got a chance to see the Spurs play against Dirk all those years, against T-Mac and Yao Ming all those years. So like I'm not running away from that kind of stuff. I'm glad. I'm glad to see the Spurs play Harden for his tenure in Houston. I'm glad. Us winning games because it usually ends up well for us, us winning a game.
I know, man. It was
off of a defensive play or something like that. Like I'm cool to see Houston crumble a little bit at our expense too. But anyways, like kind of getting into like this game, I am a little concerned. I mean, we can talk all day about James Harden's impact, and he's gonna score points against us. But it's like man, it's when I think about like Christian Wood, like. Even to a lesser extent, like DeMarcus Cousins, I'm like, what are we gonna do? What are we gonna do? You know what I mean? Are we gonna because we were just talking about like our guys, if we can have LA and DeMar be consistent and set the table for somebody else. Well, we know that James Harden's gonna get his numbers. So if he's setting the table up for Christian Wood, is that enough to beat us on some nights? I think it will be. You know what I mean? So it's like, what are we gonna do to stop like that?
Mm-hmm.
That's hard.
This is what their projected starting lineup is, and I don't know about David Nwaba. Like I don't know what they have on their team to say, oh, Sterling Brown, Bruno Caboclo, like any of those guys, Daniel House. Like I don't know what their situation is for this thing to project David Nwaba of all people to be their starting three, but. Even then, like this lineup right here just seems a little like, whoa, what are we gonna do? Like,
does it say that he started 6 games already?
Yeah.
What is that right there?
It says that he's been in their starting lineup for 6 games. So
yeah, okay,
that's right. So I mean, it's like, they've like John Wall, DeJounte Murray, or John Wall and Lonnie Walker, like whatever that matchup is, I can't be too crazy scared about it because John Wall is still coming off his injury. He's still trying to adjust to what he was doing, right?
Yeah, he looks good, man. He does look good.
He does look good, and I'm happy for him. Like I love John Wall. I've always been a fan of John Wall and stuff like that. But I don't think I'd say that like John Wall blowing us out of the water it still gives me hope that we're gonna win a game against Houston, right?
Hey, what is he averaging? I can't really see.
It's just that he's averaging
John Wall.
21.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 21 a game. 21. Only 5 and 6. 21 and 5. 4 rebounds. David Nwaba, 9.2 a game, 2 rebounds a game. So he's young, and they prefer to have Gordon come off the bench. As well as like McLemore and some of those other guys. You know what I mean? It's probably like they have a preferred second unit that kind of makes them a little deep.
Yeah. And
not to hate on David Waba. I'm not familiar with him, but it might be a thing of like, well, we like you were saying before about like his when we were talking about Keldon being a starter or not, it's like, or Lonnie being a starter or not, like where is his opportunities going to be maximized? You know what I mean?
right.
That's probably what I say. I would say I'm a little another thing that like I know is going to give us trouble is like PJ Tucker is like Keldon Johnson is not going to run through PJ Tucker.
Nope.
You know what I mean?
No, he's not.
No, he's not. No,
PJ
he's not.
Tucker is 6'5" and runs through NBA centers like it's no one's business.
When we played Houston in the preseason, there was one possession
is going to be
there,
key tonight.
Who?
KJ's.
Oh.
Trying, because he's a good shooter. KJ is. I feel like he is. He has good shots. So what I would like to do, I'll give KJ that. I think KJ could win that battle every time if he has PJ on the outside going in rather than trying to back him down or something. You know what I mean?
Well, okay, but like they're very similar. PJ Tucker's game is predicated on being tough inside and hitting the open jump shot from hitting an open three. So like either you're gonna have to be hitting those jump shots, and I think that's what you were saying too, right? His success will be contingent on how well he's shooting from outside. But like you can guarantee that the kind of the same way about like going against the Lakers or like like if KJ has another 2 for 10 night and it's mainly because of PJ Tucker, like I wouldn't be surprised, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So it's like, where are we going to get if we know that is where we're going to take a little bit of a hit, it's like, okay, can we get Lonnie to go off a little bit? Like, or is it Patty and Rudy again off the bench?
I think this is going to be big for Lonnie. Lonnie's going to have good games against Houston because we're going to have James work. Like we have to have James work. We have to have him moving. We can't just let him take a night off on the defensive end and score his 40 plus, whatever he wants to do that night. But like we're going to have him work. So whether he's going to guard 1, 2, or 3, as far as James, whoever he's guarding is going to have to move. He's going to have to play well without the ball. He's going to have to take advantage of the time he has the ball in his hands to get James to work on the defensive end of the floor. And if we can get him,
do you guys think that will be Lonnie? Like in terms of just who's going to be out there like guarding him most of the time.
Matchup wise, not guarding him, but matchup wise, like I feel like we might run DJ guarding James, and then obviously they're going to run.
What do you think, James?
I think they're going to run James Harden defending Lonnie Walker. Maybe they have him if they literally just have like that same matchup of James Harden on DeJounte because they think Lonnie Walker can provide more of a spark. Obviously, Lonnie's got his game last year against Houston. So, like maybe they've learned their lesson and they're like, all right, well, we're gonna run John Wall on Lonnie just because John Wall is a better defender.
But I'm wondering
a couple of James Harden's dunks again. That'd be nice.
I'm wondering if they were to have Harden on DJ, because Harden's going to have the ball in his hands a lot. So imagine like Harden driving to the basket or taking a jump shot and then like make or miss, DJ's running the floor. You know what I mean? It's like, can we get some real easy opportunities in that regard of getting DJ out ahead of James? You know what I mean? I think that could be good for us.
That'd be good.
I definitely think we have this question up here of who's going to hold Christian Wood. I think it's definitely just going to be tough just to see if LA can kind of match up with him. I wouldn't really want to move Jakob because if we move Jakob up, who are we going to have to defend DeMarcus Cousins? DeMarcus Cousins will eat in the paint if we don't have somebody to guard him. Even if he isn't as good as he once was, like he can still provide something for them off that bench. And
I can't remember what Christian Wood looked like on defense as far as like, was he physical? Because I wouldn't mind like this game of all games to throw that ball to LA and let him try to back this dude down.
He's tall and he's averaging 2 blocks a game. But I mean, and also the last time we played them, did LA play or he just looked real slow?
In the bubble. I mean the bubble in the
preseason
games. I can't remember.
couldn't tell you. All I know is
Christian
went off.
Christian Wood is 6'10", 223.
220. LA is what, about 300 pounds? Feels like it.
I definitely feel like that's gonna be a tough one. Seeing how much Christian Wood can do, and I think what our best bet is literally to see how good our guards can do against this team, because like that's the weakness that I see is their defense on their guard part. Other than John Wall, obviously John Wall's a good defender, but everybody else, like, you know, I could kind of see us trying to take advantage of a couple James Harden things. David Nwaba, I believe is only 6'3", and even if he is solid defensively, it's 7 inches shorter than, or not 7 inches. Well, a couple inches shorter than DeMar. So I mean, you know, I could definitely see us being able to take a height advantage against this team. And in my perfect world, Christian Wood goes off for 50 so that my fantasy team can do well, and we still get the win.
Well, I mean, so his last 5 games, 22-15, 23-7, 20-15, 21-12, and then this last game where they played against the Nuggets, he still had 23 points, but he only had 3 rebounds. So they held him off the glass a little bit that game. But I mean, is this another one of those things of like, if we think about the Utah game where Rudy went off down low, Gobert had his way down low, and they were hitting their jump shots. That was the recipe for just like taking us out quick.
Well, I think Rudy only scored like 7 points that game, right?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Rudy only scored 7 that night.
Oh, I thought you were saying at the beginning of today's episode that Gobert. I thought you like read a stat line from Gobert, where he had some success against us.
That's the thing. They did all that with nothing but 3-pointers, man.
It was mainly them just hitting all their shots.
They hit every single 3 they threw up. What it felt like.
So I wonder what Houston's
See, I see the screen y'all got up, and it looks like Christian Wood shooting 25% from the 3-point line. So maybe that'll be a key tonight. If we could keep him out of the paint, keep him out of his sweet spot, just have him shooting those jumpers. Hopefully he doesn't get on that 20+ little scoring spree,
and just let that be the thing that we give up for the night.
Yeah, I'll give that up. You know, if he's gonna, and who knows, shit, the way things been going, he'd probably shoot 10 and be 8 for 10 tonight. You know what I mean? The way it's sitting against us right now. But just from what I'm seeing right now, you know, he's only shooting 25%. I'll take that. You know, I'll take my chances with that.
Right. He was definitely a very underrated signing. Honestly, would not
trade, right? They got him for nothing Trevor Reed. No, who did they get him for?
No, they didn't trade him. They signed him to a deal because Detroit didn't match his offer or something like that.
I thought they.
But like Detroit and I'm trying to remember his name. I think it's Jeremy Grant. Jeremy Grant has been playing very good for them these last couple games, but like they let Christian Wood walk to sign Jeremy Grant and Mason Plumlee when all you had to do is just sign Christian Wood instead of trying to sign Mason Plumlee. Like I have no idea why they would let Christian Wood walk. He played so well with them at the very end of last season that like a team like Detroit really could have just used a guy like Christian Wood instead of letting him walk like that. And Houston got him for pretty cheap too. Pretty cheap on a couple of years.
Yep. Another reason why we need one of those.
A sign. Who did they get out of it?
They got Christian Wood. It was a 3-year, $41 million sign-in trade. Via the Detroit Pistons. I'm sorry. Hold on. Let me just get this up real quick.
And so I mean, like, either way though, I definitely think that if we win that first game against Houston, we could win that second game against Houston.
Yep, that's what I said too. It was for Ariza. It was Ariza. The Rockets traded Robert Covington to the Trailblazers for Trevor Ariza, a 2020 first-round pick, and 2020 first-round pick.
It's to the Trailblazers, not to the Pistons.
Yeah, it was to the Blazers, but it was a sign and trade. I don't know how it worked out, but it did.
But Like unless James Harden goes off for 40, unless John Wall goes off for 30, if somebody goes off crazy, it's definitely gonna make it harder for us to try and squeak out a win. But I think that our guards are definitely gonna be what push us forward, what keep us from taking a bad loss against a team like Houston.
Yeah, and I'm excited for these games because it'll be a good benchmark to see like how we match up against them better since preseason, and then also like I liked when we played them in the preseason because we had talked, we at the beginning of the year we had talked about like wanting to take more threes or whatever, and kind of upping our overall pace, and we got a chance to see in the preseason right away like a test about like, hey, this is a team that matches that pace that you said you were going to try to do. So it's like, how do we match up against one of those teams? And I don't think that I don't know if Houston is shooting the same rate or the same percentage as like years past. This year they probably aren't.
Tony rate, probably not.
But in the preseason they were out there shooting. You know what I mean? And we didn't really keep up with them. And I know we weren't 100% in terms of our health and stuff. But we, in terms of just the overall flow of the game, we just didn't keep up with them. So I'm excited to see like what now that our legs are here a little bit more. We're getting into the I think we're already, man. I mean, we're already like getting into that point. It's like we're simultaneously too early to tell anything, but also we're in the thick of the season now since it's a shortened one. So yeah, I'm excited. I'm just excited to see like all of these games are just benchmarks. You know what I mean? So I think
they're winnable too. Every night I feel like we have a chance to win. Man,
for sure.
Exactly. Especially after like last week, like okay, we went 0-3 for that other week, and then me and Josh predicted 3-1, and literally for like the next 2 days, I was like, is 3-1 like too much? Are we like how much of it is just like we can win every game on a night-to-night basis? We can win every game. Yeah, good. Everybody probably thinks that, you know what I mean? But it's like how much of that is realistic? But the more you think about it, it's like, man, we have the tools. And the more games we see, the more games we get the chance to see those tools at work and kind of see like,
especially on back-to-back good wins like that in LA against those type of teams. Those are good teams. Those are very good teams. Those are like championship caliber teams that we beat back-to-back. Yeah. I mean, granted that PG the Clippers didn't have PG, but still, that's a solid team. The Lakers were at full strength, I believe, right? I don't think they had anybody. Well, I mean, with Anthony Davis and LeBron, I feel like they're full strength anyways.
For sure. They kind of like held like in a sense the load because like obviously towards the end of the game, like LeBron and AD like already they like went out whenever like if they really wanted to, and they could have, they probably could have tried to make another push to win the game.
Like 2 minutes ago, right?
Because they had a back-to-back. They just decided to sit LeBron and AD and take the L for the night.
Wait, didn't Caldwell Pope get hurt though when they played us too, or no?
Oh yeah, he was out.
He was out.
Yeah, so they they did miss, but like we've been doing all of this without one of our smartest players, one of our best players.
Yeah,
and point guard is just, whether you're a scoring point guard or a defensive point guard or whatever, it's like, man, if you can be smart, you can have value, and we have one of the smartest. So.
Okay, so just to kind of end it off here, then, what are your guys' win-loss predictions? We have our game against. Just to recap, we have a game against the Timberwolves, and we play against the Thunder, and we have 2 games against Houston, so 4 games total.
Yep, I'm going back-to-back weeks, 3-1.
3-1.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Are you saying that we're going to split with Houston?
I think we're going to split with Houston, and with both those games being at home, and if we get that first one, I know Jake just said this, so wait, if we get that first one, I think we could get that second one, and go 2-0 versus Houston. But I guess I'm just gonna stick with my 3-1. I'll be happy. I mean, obviously, it'll be great if we could get both those dubs against Houston. Mm-hmm. But if we split, I would still feel happy with that because that's a good ball club,
Yeah, especially with some of the games that we got like coming up. I mean, Houston included, but looking even further past Houston, if we could get both, man, that'd be great.
Mm-hmm.
And Chris, what would you say your win-loss prediction is?
I'll probably. It's funny because like last week, me and Josh probably felt like we were going out on the limb saying 3-1, and now it's like I'm gonna play it safe and say 3-1.
Yeah.
Right. But I would say just about that I agree with Josh on all the way through. We showed what we can do against Minnesota. I think that we can do even a better job tonight. In terms of I don't know, maybe just letting our ability or trying to get to the rim a little bit earlier in the night, I think is gonna do things for us. So I think that's a good win. I think OKC is just too young. If we're disciplined, we should win that game. I would want to get both against Houston, but I'll say 3-1. Yeah, 3-1.
Okay. And y'all are saying play it safe for 3-1. I'm saying conservative of another 2-2 week. And I think it's kind of crazy how we did get a 3-1 last week. You know, if I don't know about y'all, but at the beginning of the week when we lost that first game against Utah, I was like, oh my God, we're going 1-3 this week. Like, oh no, it's not gonna be pretty. Like we're probably gonna barely even beat the Timberwolves this week, and it's gonna fall down, right? And then we ended up turning it around, beating Clippers, beating the Lakers. But I'm still just gonna go with another 2-2 this week. Like I think that I'd love to see a split with Houston, and honestly, like between the Thunder and the Timberwolves, while I think that we could beat them both and easily go 3-1, like there's just maybe something, some little player here or there that just like makes us end up going 2-2 this week, you know, just to kind of give a little bit of like, you know, not everything's gonna go perfect for us. Not every night we're gonna be consistent, just like that.
Or it could be a thing of like we beat OKC and Minnesota, and then like on one night James Harden is too much to handle, and on the next night we stop him, but then Christian Wood just is a little bit of an edge or something like that. You know, there's so many ways that this that it can go.
Exactly.
Yeah, it could go 4-0.
That's what we could go 0-4. So and that's I definitely like. I mean, for me, it makes it more interesting to be a Spurs fan. I know to other teams it's not or to other people it's not as like, you know, enticing. But like when we're in the middle of all this and any game can be a win or any game could be a lose. Like if it means that we're in like the pack of things and it's not just like a blowout, or definitely not a blowout loss, but like if it's not a blowout win, you know what I mean? Where it's like every day you look at this team and you're like, oh yeah, we're gonna beat the Detroit Pistons, whatever, you know, like you see the Spurs and it still gives you like a little bit of like, man, are we gonna beat the Spurs? Are they gonna put up a fight? And I feel like every game this season has showed that, other than that Utah game, right? Every game this season has showed that we will put up a fight. We don't care what team we're playing against, that we are going to put up a fight. So, you know,
yeah,
I definitely think
that's why I predicted 40 wins this year. Because
that's why I predicted less.
And we have the tools to win those games, and we're putting up those fights.
Well, yeah, I mean, you're right. Like we do have the tools, but those tools aren't sharp yet. Those tools aren't exactly they're not exactly the things that I'm ready to
that's what you thought about DJ. You thought that man wasn't sharp, and he's cutting your ass up, boy.
Yep. But obviously, look at Derek right now. Derek's still out. You know, we're not going to have him. We're not going to have him for another couple weeks. And when he comes back, you really think that Derek's going to be able to you know, make us that playoff team like right away and stuff like that? If we aren't that playoff team by then, right? It's like
my answer is yes.
I don't think he will. He'll be coming off.
He'll take time. He'll take time.
And yeah, and
he was off for. Well, I mean, he played the bubble, so he didn't have like, you know, he was just off the off season and he missed a couple games.
Had that off season and then missed those games. Played one game and is now going to miss another month, pretty much. So it's like
he played good. Like in that game, he came out and played good right away. Like right away.
I mean, yeah. Like I love Derek. I definitely think that like I'm saying that I don't think that he's gonna make a big impact, but for sure, like Derek on the court, like we've said multiple times, like he's smart. He's gonna be able to do a lot of things that just people without Derek, you know, aren't gonna be able to do. So it's like when he's out there, he's gonna make the team better. But I still don't like. I'm still on the case of like, eventually, even though we're picking up our game, even though our guys are playing good, eventually other teams are just gonna be able to pick it up too. They're gonna be able to have their guys, like, let's just say, we're talking about, oh well, Rudy just needs to be a little bit more consistent, right? We want Lonnie to take more shots. Obviously, the other teams that are fighting for that eighth seed are the same way. They have people on their team the exact same way that are like, oh, once this guy picks it up, we're gonna start winning games and we're gonna be ahead of everybody else. We're gonna beat the Spurs and stuff like that. Like, it's not just us that's getting better; it's the entire league that gets better throughout this season.
Yeah. Yeah. So and it is good. Like kind of like you had said, like we had talked before the year was starting, and it's like the biggest like frustrating thing about being a Spurs fan the past 2 or 3 years is you could feel the league shifting a little bit to like and part of it's kind of unfortunate injuries to like the Warriors and stuff like that. But you can kind of start to feel, especially when KD left, like, okay, the parity of the NBA is starting to shift back to that, a little bit more evenly distributed. And so it's like, all right, we want to join in on that party, man. It's like, it's so fun seeing all these newer, younger teams play well, and you just want to see us in the mix. You know what I mean? So, I agree with what you're saying, but I think we're, if we can keep stacking weeks of 3-1, 2-2, 3-1, 3-1, 2-2, it's gonna end up with more wins than losses. You know what I mean? So,
yeah, for sure. Alrighty then. Let's see. Well, so that was all of our predictions for this week. We're gonna be looking forward to the Timberwolves later tonight from this back to back, and then obviously these next couple games for the rest of this week. Y'all can keep looking out for us at Heroes Half Court on Twitter, as it shows down below, and of course, we try to stream every Sunday at 10 o'clock, even if we weren't able to go live today. We for sure want to keep this consistent schedule of going every Sunday. So hopefully we'll be able to have a live show next week again, and just continue to keep going with this. It's been super fun. I actually had a great time being the host today, doing my thing.
yeah,
So
good job, Jake.
Yeah,
thank you. So we'll be looking out for all of our viewers and stuff like that, and hope y'all enjoy this week of basketball. Y'all take care.
Yeah, go Spurs.
Go Spurs, go.